and gentlemen, to week 2, day 6 of the LPL Spring Split 2018. And what you can see right now is Snake's Arena, as our first matchup of the day will be in Snake's home arena alongside Vici Gaming. You can see it's a packed crowd out there as well. But hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Richard Pauls Cam. I'll be your host for today and every day for this week, alongside Mr. Clement Chu. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm super hyped for my Snake boys today. I predicted them.
You absolutely
at the start
did,
of the
Clement.
season.
You 100% did. Did you predict them, Clement? Did you really predict them?
Yeah, I told them. I told you all of you guys they were going to be a great team. You guys didn't believe me. Wait and see.
Yeah, we're starting to believe now. But we do have a game from yesterday that we didn't quite catch, so let's go ahead and try and catch up on the action on that one. It was Rogue Warriors going up against LGD.
So for the first game of this series, we saw Jinwoo bring out the Riven against Mouse's gameplay, got 2 solo kills in the lane, and kind of just set the stage for a very clean carry game from that Riven performance. And in the second and third games, we kind of saw the duality of Doinby. He had some great laning phases, but then he built into straight defensive items, and he actually got called out in their game 3 loss against LGD. LGD said they chose to engage on Doinby because he didn't build any AP at all. He was 0 AP at 18 minutes on a Kassadin. So we can see a kind of a mix up there, and there's start to be a lot of questioning. Is he going in the right direction?
I mean, to be fair, it's not the first time that Doinby has gone full tank on an AP carry. Like, he's done that on Victor, and actually he did very well on that pick, but it seems like it doesn't translate to necessarily every single champion. That being said, our Sleeping Dragons LGD finally seems like they're starting to pop up.
Exactly. I feel like LGD is finding their footing basically in the top lane. They want to give these counter picks over to Jinwoo. We saw it twice in yesterday's matches. Give him the Camille, give him the Riven, let him do his thing and carry from the top lane. While in the bot side, I feel like Imp and PYL, they have shown up in their laning phases a little bit more, and they're playing more for a push game. A lot of Sivers down there as well.
Of course, that has had an impact on the standing as well, Clement. So let's go ahead and take a look at those, because LGD, they're actually tied up with RNG right now, and I'm not sure, I didn't think I was ever going to say that sentence again after 2015. However, they've done it. Yes, they are currently in 6th, but they are currently tied with Rogue Warriors and RNG after yesterday's set.
A very unexpected outcome so far in the LPL. We're seeing BLG and Jingdong at the top of their conferences. Now, these are not 2 teams that we expect to be there. Our traditional powerhouses are still trying to get in the field. We're probably not going to see them fully come alive until after Chinese New Year.
Yeah, you can definitely say that for RNG. It seems like every single year this is a regular occurrence with RNG, and for a lot of the top teams, it's like, okay, it's fine. After Chinese New Year, we'll just start smacking some nerds. And that's usually what happens. We'll have to see if that actually turns out, because Bilibili Gaming and JD at the top of the standings, very interesting.
Exactly. And if we're going to talk about these teams, I feel like we have to talk about the new meta coming in. You know, LPL takes a break every Thursday, and when we come back, we're seeing new themes. Athena really kicked it off with a Galio pick, and we can see on the bottom of our screen right now that we have these 2 champions, Galio and Caitlyn, showing up big time in the LPL. I think both of them fit very well into a fast push kind of scheme. Both of these champions are taking Unsealed Spellbook, and we see WE using this shell to really snowball the game against Vici, who is going to play today. For the Caitlyn, I also feel like this is a kind of a new interpretation on the Sivir, Unsealed Spellbook Sivir we see from the LCK. LPL really prefers this champion over the Sivir because she gives you a better team fight presence, and you can also be more lane dominant in the early phases.
And those numbers you're seeing right now, those appearance rates of those champions have definitely been cropping up more and more as the split has gone on. So we'll see if the rest of the teams follow suit. I personally want to see more of those, was it quadra teleports that we're seeing up from teams now? You paired it up with a Zac, you go with the suicide play?
Yeah, pretty much. The quadra teleports in the bot lane have been, for my taste, a bit obnoxious. We're seeing all AD carries go Unsealed Spellbook. We've seen the Kalista do it. We've seen the Kog'Maw do it. It's not really about getting damaged late game. It's about controlling the laning phase and making sure that the enemy team can't push down your turrets before they can. We've also seen some really interesting variants from this. We've seen the Sivir actually go back to Fleet Footwork. SMLZ's yesterday was double BF sword footwork Sivir, trying to push in the lane constantly as well. So it's a very interesting dynamic right now.
It is indeed. Now, you alluded to the first game already, but let's take a look at the schedule we have coming your way, because it is a packed day of League of Legends for the LPL. We're starting off with Vici versus Snake. Next will be a Top Sports versus IG, and then we'll be rounding out the day with our match of the week. It's OMG versus EDG.
And you have to be hyped about that last match of the day. OMG versus EDG. We're going to see the clash of titans in the mid lane. Icon versus Scout. There's going to be a lot of Zoe Vici play, a lot of good Ryze play coming out from both of them, so I'm super excited. Top versus IG, of course, the big narrative is, when is Top Gaming finally going to find that elusive first win in the LPL?
Yeah, maybe never. We actually don't know, but find out soon, as we'll have it in our second game of the day. But yeah, we need to start talking about Vici and Snake, which is our first one that will be coming up on today, because Clement, you already said at the start of the show, but you predicted that Snake were going to be good this split, and so far that has rung true.
And I think if you have to talk about Snake, you have to talk about the man in the top lane, Flandre. So far, he's been my MVP of the LPL 2018 spring split so far. I don't think there's a single player that commands this much respect in terms of ban picks, in terms of what he does in the team fight, in terms of damage. You could see the EDG game. EDG actually triple banned him, took GP and Ornn on the first rotation, and then banned Rumble, but Flandre was still able to play Jace and still get a very good game against EDG. Yep. Also, he's carrying the team in terms of damage. 29% of that team damage is coming from Flandre. He's only second to the Shy in terms of top lane damage contribution, and I just feel like he's a nightmare to play against. He has so many of these flex picks. We saw him go Ryze against WE as well, and his teamfight presence, that Gnar into a Guoguo pentakill, you cannot overlook how much impact he is having on these games.
And frankly, I don't see it stopping today either, because he's going to be playing into Meow in the top lane from Vici, and Vici is a team very, very slow, and it seems like Snake have been hitting very, very hard early on into the game, and that's been coming from the top side of Flandre. So it's a lot to live up to for Meow. He didn't look bad by any means from what we saw in the first game of Vici that we saw on our stream, but I don't know if it's enough to challenge what you're calling the MVP of the league.
Yeah, and I think you can really see the contrast between how Vici challenged WE's fast push and how FPX challenged WE's fast push, because they were back-to-back games. For FPX, they were willing to try to do lane ganks, trying to use the Sejuani ult, but for Vici Gaming, they just sat back and took it. So they're really not showing any of that Gathering Storm type of teamfight potential. For them, the narrative for me is a bit too little too late. So for this game, we really want to see some action. Who is going to get those early sparks flying in the early to mid game? Because we really don't know for Vici right now.
Yeah, and honestly, I would like to see them start using the fast push composition, because it seems like that would be exactly their MO, right? Like, you can have like a slow farming mid laner, but as long as bot lane's doing well, top lane and jungle are doing the work, and then Easyhoon can come in with his 40-minute Azir and start wrecking some faces. But so far, as you said, we're not really seeing anything.
Yeah, and that's the reason I feel like this series for me really has to go to Snake, because Snake has also figured out how to counter these late game compositions. We saw against their against W, they had this terrific shell of Ryze, Jarvan, and Taric, and they basically said in their interviews, as long as we could sit on them, they would all die. So this is a great shell that's going to come out from Snake. A lot of teams are getting more familiar with the meta, finding those core 3 picks from them. And also, you have to remember, Ryze is a flex pick for Snake as well. So it's going to be really interesting in the draft phase for how Vici is going to avoid these all-in combos.
So it sounds right now this is heavily Snake favored, especially in their home arena. And the fact they've already taken down so many top teams, now Vici have to go against that. I will say, though, that we see this every single split where Snake looks exceptional, especially against the top teams. They seem to play up to those top teams and then weirdly starts to struggle against the bottom. So would you say it's still a 2-0 you're expecting for Snake?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a 2-0. We haven't really seen that special spark from Vici. I'm not sure, even if Easyhoon gets the Azir, is he going to be able to survive that engage? Because that engage from Ryze and Taric is super sick. You teleport the Realm Orb and instantly everyone is stunned. You also follow up with the Jarvan, and you also have to mention that now with Galio in the matchup, I feel that gives even more engage tools over to Snake.
So theoretically, how could Vici win this game? Where do you see the weaknesses in Snake? Because we've talked about all their strengths and it's very much in the top side for Flandre, but is there any way you could exploit Snake if you're Vici?
To be honest, I feel like the only big weakness for Snake is their bottom lane. I feel like their bottom lane has a tendency to go over aggressive. So if Crash can focus his efforts in that lane, get a couple kills early, then that might kind of swing the meta. We have also seen a big weakness from Crystal's lane is because a lot of times he's not picking for the lane, he's picking champion champions that scale later and kind of hoping on the rest of the map to carry him to that point. He's still undefeated on Vayne, but that pick is not a pick that is considered safe by any means. So I think you could look to punish that lane and try to snowball from there.
It's actually very interesting because we've seen a lot of Vayne in the LPL, and it does have a positive win rate. So you say it's not safe, but it seems like a lot of scenarios, especially in 8.1, where Relic Shield is a thing, Overheal is a thing, where Vayne is actually getting more of a free pass out of laning phase.
And that's the weird thing about the LPL. In the LPL, we actually have the lowest win rates for Kog'Maw and one of the highest win rates for Vayne. So supposedly Kog'Maw is supposed to be a counter, but because the engaged tendencies of the teams in the LPL are so strong that you're actually seeing this pick kind of diminish. All the Zags coming in, the Ryze and Taric combos, really diminishing the effect of Kog'Maw, and we're not seeing Kog'Maw being first picked anymore in this league. So that's a really divergent trend that we have from the LCK.
Sometimes we see it with definitely WE, but it's more about those specific players. Like, if it's Mystic, maybe going to see a first pick
they're definitely
Kog'Maw,
going Galio first pick for now.
True, they have moved towards the fast push composition. We do have a small delay. Actually, just kidding. We're getting ready to head over, so it will be very soon that we should be heading over to the casters. However, I do want to quickly touch on Gangplank, because Gangplank, we've seen him very much last picked into a lot of compositions when all gets picked on blue side. Like, we see that occur so many times now.
All right, you really can't first pick the Gangplank. I feel like that's a very dangerous move. You could see Ornn and Lee Sin really punish him super hard by that Clit combo. Super clean on that Lee Sin. Also, you're seeing a lot of counter picks. The Aatrox is actually really good. You know, it sounds like a joke pick, but Jinnu really does play Aatrox in Challenger, and he actually hovered it yesterday. Riven's also very good, and you also have the traditional Gnar. So I feel like a lot of teams are moving down on the Gangplank priority and kind of just picking him where there's the top lane has been depleted.
I mean, frankly, I hope so, because it seems like a lot of people are just getting pushed in on that pick. But either way, it is about time to head over to the casters and get us into game 1 between Vici and Snake.
Thank you very much, Pulse. I'm Fish. Joining me today is Rusty. And Rusty, it is so bloody cold. I regret wearing what I'm wearing now.
Yep, it is absolutely freezing. The cows in China are producing ice cream today. That's how cold it is. Honestly, I'm just excited to see this game spice things up. At least I hope.
I'll hopefully be able to see some of that. Snake will be going up against Vici, as the analysts have broken down already. Going into this, Snake have looked really good in their group so far. You know, 2-1, only losing their first match at their home arena.
Yeah, they lost to FunPlus Phoenix, but ever since then, they seem to be like a resurgent Snake coming back. They got the revenge victory against EDG, something that's been a long time coming for them. And with that momentum, perhaps they've actually broken the Snake curse. They can get these victories against the top-placed teams in the league. And coming into this set against Vici, Snake are definite favorites. And that's maybe a problem for Snake, being favorites for the first time in a very, very long time.
Well, unfortunately, you know, Vici is not one of the top teams in this group, so hopefully that curse doesn't take place, but they're not able to take games off the bottom of the table teams. Vici have not looked too good since coming back from the LSPL. They fixed some unorthodox team composition, some unorthodox picks, like the Jinx in the bottom lane a few days ago, and they just haven't looked quite themselves so far.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Vici's meant to look like when they are themselves as well. It's something that we'll have to discover with them as the split continues, but for what it's worth, Vici, we've seen small positives in them, individual positives from the players, but as a team, as a unit, they don't really feel cohesive by any means and in any way, and that's something that they need to work out immediately. Right now, they are the weakest team in their group, and they'll have a very hard time getting victories already, and they've only played 2 sets, but to be able to say that definitively feels almost unjustified, but it's definitely true.
We'll have to see more from them later on. We are going to get into the game very shortly between Snake Esports and Vici Gaming. I mean, in this group though, Rusty, it is such a strong conference that every single time we're talking to an analyst or talking to a color caster, they've been telling me that we have to wait for cross-conference for Vici especially, because everyone is just a powerhouse in this group coming into the second week of the LPL.
But you know what? We could say that about both groups and almost have it be true no matter what. They are just very strong groups. They're very convoluted. We don't actually know who is the best in each group yet. We don't know who is the best group between the conferences as well as we go through the roster.
Yeah, for Vici, it's going to be Meow in the top lane with Crash heading into the jungle, Easyhoon in the mid lane, and Martin as well as Caveman in the bottom lane.
And Meow did have a very good game in his last set against TNW. Vici going down 0-2 throughout that one. Martin and Caveman have been seen and proven to be perhaps the weak link of this roster, though they do have what it takes to step up. Caveman in particular is someone that I like.
Which is very Vici-esque, always relying on the top side of the map to get them ahead, to cover for the weakness in the bottom lane. They are up against Snake Esports, Flandre in the top lane, SofM heading into the jungle, with Guoguo in the mid lane, as well as Crystal and Hudie heading into the bottom lane.
And Snake, a lot of their success has actually stemmed from SofM, but it's not him explicitly as to why they're successful, which is why Snake's been such an interesting team to watch play and really discover how they're able to get these victories. Most of it actually feels like it's the solo laners being able to control their 1v1s. Flandre is having an outstanding split so far, and Guoguo has been a rising star for the roster as well. His team fighting has been immaculate, but he's also showed strength on other champions that aren't just going to be the solo team fighters. So we'll see how he continues to go throughout this set, and if they can continue as a team, Snake, to unlock SofM, because if they're winning lanes, we know what SofM's going to do. He'll do it no matter what. It's just more successful.
SofM has had a good split so far, has been performing well for Snake since coming into the LPL. We talked about them, we've talked about the solo lanes. Clement has touched heavily on the desk about Guoguo in the mid lane. Then take a look at the bottom lane, a lane where we think Vici is relatively weak and historically has been relatively weak. Snake are not at the moment. Crystal is performing well, and Hudie looks strong as his support.
Yeah, Crystal's actually got 3 Vayne games played as well. It's his most played champion as we do hop into Champion Select.
And hopefully we'll be able to see another one from Crystal, because it's always fun to watch when Snake pick up the Vayne at the bottom lane. And in Champion Select for game number 1 of this best of 3 series, Gangplank and Vladimir. 2 bans being targeted out towards Flandre, and you know, Vladimir slightly flexed for Guoguo in the mid lane. Zoe as well as Jarvan taken off the table for Snake Esports.
Yeah, the Vladimir flex, I mean, it's a decent ban away from Flandre. The Gangplank also a ban of necessity. The desk was saying that, you know, it's very difficult and challenging to pick a Gangplank early on in the rotation, but that also usually indicates that Meow, whilst he has played Rumble, may have a tendency to play those tanks, and Gangplank just does too well into them.
Final ban from Vici in the first ban rotation is going to be Varus. Varus has been played as the second most played champion by Crystal. However, with this Kalista ban, that's 2 of the 3 champions that Martin has played in the LPL so far being taken off the table. And Kog'Maw will actually be a new champion for him to play today.
Yeah, now a lot of the meta has started to shift towards the Kog'Maw. Again, Vayne has been said to be countered by the Kog'Maw. Of course, the scaling is matched, but the range advantage is always there for the Kog'Maw. The damage is fairly equal as you hit mid to late game stages, so it just means that the Vayne is far more risky. However, coming into this one, the first pick on the Kog'Maw seems like a sure sign of taking something away from Crystal. But by getting all of these abstract bans on the board, these target bans on the board, look at what they leave open for Snake.
Leave open Camille, that will be heading into the top lane as SofM locks in Sejuani as his jungle pick of choice.
The Camille's the big one. It has a 70% ban rate throughout the LPL so far, the most banned champion for the LPL. And I think of all regions, Camille is prioritized the highest in the LPL specifically. So to be able to just give that one away to Flandre of all people, who has been performing out of his mind, means that Vici should have an answer in their playbook, and it seems like they do.
They lock in Fiora as that answer in the top lane against Flandre's Camille. We've seen the Camille against Fiora matchup. Fiora, one of the few champions that can go toe-to-toe, especially earlier on in the game. They also get a very signature pick of the Azir in the mid lane for Easyhoon.
Yeah, Easyhoon does get his Azir. There is something to be excited about if you're a Vici Gaming fan from that alone. And Meow with a confidence pick, with a power play almost, for the side of Vici, locking in the Fiora, says that he is confident, if nothing else, in taking down the giant in Flandre.
Snake do reply with a Ryze pickup in the mid lane for Guoguo as we head into the second ban rotation. 80 carry pool still needs to be targeted here against Snake, and Snake throwing a couple of bans towards Crash in the jungle.
Yeah, taking away the Zac with the Sejuani already locked in for SofM. The question is, what is the other champions that they look to ban away? And I do wonder if it's going to be a jungler at all through this second part. Their top laner, AD carry, and mid laner are secured, but with the support still to be decided alongside the jungler, they may even go for a support ban here and throw a spanner into Vici's works.
That's what Vici are deciding to do against Snake. Tarik, the first ban that comes out from them. Still have a lot of supports left up and available. Tahm, Kench comes to mind. We also have the Alistar that's been picked up by a couple of teams. Braum as well, very popular pick. Does well into Kog'Maw. So wouldn't be too surprised if Vici try to ban that out, but it is one of Caveman's signature champions, the Braum.
But instead, they actually opt into the Gragas, a champion that has existed, but only a small amount throughout all of the leagues around the world. We saw it from Melon from Team WE, but he was a Gragas main. And I thought that was just extraneous circumstances with which that was picked, but no, banned.
Well, Crash is known for his Gragas. He did play it at the World Championships last year.
That's true.
So
but last year, Gragas was strongly meta.
He was very meta last year, so it could just be a comfort band coming out from Snake here. Whereas Caitlyn, the final band that comes out from Vici.
Interesting. Another AD carry targeted. Crystal's lane pressure is something that they don't want to see. And once again, they ban Caitlyn. They've got the Kog'Maw, so they're trying to avoid bad matchups, but then they just get a Tahm Kench thrown against them anyway. Arguably the best support running around on the Rift.
Vici will respond and show their hand with not only their jungle, but as well as their support pick here.
Yep, they do have to reveal all of their roster. The full 5 lineup will be seen, and Snake have the opportunity to last pick for the AD carry role, of all things, knowing what the 2v2 matchup will be, and I am by no means against it. It means that Crystal has the Vayne, has the Draven as options that he may consider, and I would not discredit them as possibilities.
We've already seen 3 rounds of Vayne from Crystal. Would love to see a Draven match from him, especially in front of his home crowd, in front of all the fans at the Snake Arena. However, Lulu is the lock-in as the support for Vici. It seems like Crash might get his hands on Lee Sin.
Not wanting the tank, or not being able to find a tank through the jungle champion pool. Lee Sin is a very good aggressive champion that is super good at ganking lanes, and if you've got a Camille versus Fiora in the top lane, I would strongly advise ganking that lane and trying to get it snowballing early.
The final pick coming out from Snake here will be Crystal's AD carry of choice.
Give me the Draven. Oh, that's
Ezreal is still left up and available, so it could just be the Ezreal pickup for Crystal, and that's what Snake Esports are going to lock in.
Yeah, the Ezreal's still a strong champion in its own right, of course. We didn't forget about it, I just chose to ignore its existence. Kog'Maw Lulu on the opposite side was a standard 2v2 lane as protection goes. We'll have to check if Unsealed Spellbook is any of their priorities here for the AD carry and support roles respectively. But on the other side, the Ezreal and Tahm Kench have strong amounts of poke. They can push you down if they time their poke properly. And there's a lot of pressure that can go around the entire map when the Tahm Kench rotates. And I think that's a big part of Snake's game plan here. Going up against Vici is hitting level 6 and just going towards a lane they can impact, whether it's taking Ryze and Sejuani there or Tahm Kench as well. They could just 5-man top lane suddenly without a teleport.
Plenty of global pressure coming out from Snake Esports, and that's without mentioning Unsealed Spellbook, which we could see a couple of champions pick up heading into this game. For the side of Vici, however, the Kog'Maw Lulu combo, something that we saw was very popular last year when the Ardent Sensors were cropping up around the world, is going to make a return. We should see the heal as well as the barrier come out from the two. Potentially an Unsealed Spellbook or two.
Yeah, starting with the heal and barrier does still make the most sense. However, if they wanted to be hyper aggressive, you could have an ignite on your Lulu. But that really depends. When you're talking about some of the spells they'll commit to, Lulu should probably have the Airy, increase the shields as well. Might be more valuable, but we'll see where their priorities lie, because they just want to scale. The side of Vici, unsurprisingly to everybody here today, they have a Lulu Kog'Maw, they have an Azir for Easyhoon, and most of that pressure early is meant to start with the top half of the map.
As always, early game in the top lane, late game in the bottom lane. It has been Vici's playstyle for a couple of years now, but never really brings them much success. They're going to try once more against Snake here. Snake picking up a few crucial champions. Flandre on the Camille. I've already mentioned that we'll have the Ryze in the mid lane as well for Guoguo, who is stepping up to the plate for Snake Esports. And they're on a roll, only losing their first game in the LPL so far. They want to continue that winning streak before they head into cross-conference.
And I would say turn it into a streak as well. They did 2-0 EDG and they 2-0'd Team WE. Another 2-0 here against Vici, and then Snake actually look like the current powerhouse of the LPL. A team to command respect as they run rampant in their home stadium.
And it's full house over at the Snake Stadium. We're going to bring this one live from Shanghai. The Battle Arena will be filled up later on, Rusty. We start 2 more matches later in the day after this best of 3 series.
Yeah, that's right. The beginning of a long day, Fish.
Very, very, very long day, Rusty. But it's going to be an exciting one nonetheless, especially with the match of the week coming up later on tonight.
I know that FLICKR actually posted on Twitter before the day that if you want to see action, you want an exciting League of Legends experience, none of that slow-paced, boring League of Legends, then this is the place for you. And Snake in their home crowd with all of the crowd yelling and supporting them. Maybe they're amped and they start to make those aggressive moves earlier than we'd like. I just hope that she didn't jinx it.
You can tell the crowd not only cheering for Snake, but most of them cheering for their hometown there. A couple of Vici fans still in the audience, still passionate, still supporting their team. But it is an away match for Vici. They have not had the best track record in the LPL so far. Hopefully things will change for them heading to this match against Snake. As you mentioned though, Snake do want to continue their winning streak and make it an actual streak. We do head on to Summoner's Rift. Both teams fan out once more. And again, we're going to have bottom side starts for both of these junglers. Stop laughing, Caveman. It's not funny.
It is actually a very annoying laugh, and it's probably the 6th time in a row that he's spammed it. Now, good leash, of course, for Crash, and both starting on the bottom side, as you mentioned, both getting the double bottom lane leash. No one gets extra lane priority in the 2v2 as a result of this. And there's not going to be any crazy Zac leashes at the start of the game where he's going to do 2 camps at once. And so far, I would say pretty much completely standard as the junglers go. I would expect them both to be pathing towards the top lane, towards that top side of the Rift. Not necessarily for a guaranteed kill, but even a forced recall, a forced potion used in that top lane 1v1 literally means the difference in that matchup.
And Crash is going to be able to head up there first, and SofM slightly behind as he does make a full bottom side clear. Looking in the bottom lane though, Martin and Caveman against Crystal and Hudie. It will be Martin and Caveman to take level 2 first. Crystal and Hudie shortly behind them. But it's going to be fairly farm heavy in this bottom lane for now.
Those are some very curious stats, however. With the CS difference at 15, Martin has the best in the league with 20. Yet, Crystal has the 2nd highest kill participation of all AD carries in the league. Very indicative of these teams' play styles. I think Martin just sits on an island, receives all of the farm. Crash is a bit out of position.
Very early engage on towards Crash. He's locked down. He might die here. Guoguo with first blood from the mid lane. SofM catches Snake in the river.
Didn't flash, didn't ward hop, couldn't get anywhere. Ryze locks him down. Uses a spell flux as well to empower the duration of that crowd control. And for no particular reason, Crash just finds himself dying on the top side of the map in the river to SofM and Guoguo.
Normally we'll see Crash as the aggressor, especially since he's on Lee Sin. SofM takes full advantage of this, moves straight into Crash's jungle, picks up the Gromp camp, further denying Lee Sin there.
Crash, of course, aware of that fact, will go to his bottom side jungle, but that's a death for the Lee Sin. Most importantly, however, it's not just a death, that's a kill for Guoguo, and double buffs given to the Ryze in the middle lane. He's got his tier already. That is pretty ridiculous.
It certainly is. Guoguo has that unsealed spellbook, so even if things go south for him in lane, he can always teleport back into lane if he wants to change out his summoners.
Yeah, but that's even worse for the side of Vici, right? He has the unsealed spellbook, Guoguo, but that's a cleanse Easyhoon.
Oh, not again. Crash has been caught out once more. SofM charges forward, chain CC nicely. So much damage! And that's a second one for Guoguo. He is on a roll.
2-0 at 4 minutes. This is pretty absurd so far from the side of Snake. The aggression from SofM, knowing this time that there is a way to kill Crash, and constantly knocking him up with the Qs, not giving him a chance to flash because he doesn't think it's going to connect. But the animation hits, he's locked in place, and now he's a 0-2 jungler.
You said it best, Rusty. It seems like SofM is the playmaker of the team, but Guoguo is the hard carry, just setting it up for him to knock them down. And this lane is not going to get any easier for Easyhoon.
I have a feeling in about one more wave, if it's a cannon, Guoguo could probably purchase himself a catalyst and just run everywhere around the map. He's level 5. There's no flash for him. However, being level 5 and ahead of Easyhoon in experience pits him that little bit closer to 6 and to be able to shift around the map, use the ultimate.
That's going to be a devastating Ryze later on in the match. We'll have to see what he does pick up and when he does go back to base. Just checking in the bottom lane really quickly there. We saw 2 minion dematerializers coming out from Crystal and Hudie, as well as the biscuit delivery system. So those two don't really want to leave lane anytime soon. Only going to have the single unsealed spellbook coming out from Hudie.
Yeah, going for the biscuit instead here for Crystal is something that Ezreals and AD carries alike will do occasionally. It's more of an acknowledgement that there will be poke in lane, and I just want to survive that poke, get a better purchase of items in. He doesn't want to just recall for a tier. In fact, you don't want to ever do that against a Kog'Maw, because you'll have a really poor item spike. So currently they are looking towards Flandre. I doubt they'll get anything though.
Crash was trying to see if he could get a gank on towards the Camille, but SofM once again spots him out inside his own jungle. And it seems like every single time SofM has caught out Crash, Crash has been at full health, SofM at or below half, but he's more than happy to be the aggressor.
Yeah, because this guy currently running behind him is always behind him. Guoguo's there, he's level 6, and Crash can't even do his Gromp for free.
Oh, he's going to be forced to jump over the wall. Will ward hop over, gets his Gromp at least, but still so much pressure onto the jungler from Vici. And we've mentioned time and time again, Rusty, Vici rely on the top side of their map to do well so they can snowball into the bottom lane. Really difficult when SofM is shutting down that key centerpiece of the jungler.
Yeah, a 10 odd CS advantage for the top lane for Flandre as well. 2 kills for the mid lane of Guoguo. And SofM running around, keeping Crash down, preventing him from even hitting level 6, not letting the Lee Sin have any early pressure on Summoner's Rift, and suddenly Snake look completely dominant.
Already kicking things off. 1,500 gold lead for Snake. You can see Meow top side of the map. Whenever Flandre tries to jump in for some damage, he's happy to turn around and dish it back out. These two will just go toe-to-toe for a while.
The trade was mostly equal. Of course, Meow has a Vamp Scepter, so he's able to keep auto-attacking the minions. Flandre hits the W on the back part, and that's his sustain throughout that lane. Equal trade, though. Flandre
also takes comment top side of the map for Camille, whereas Meow will be picking up Kleptomancy. So those trades help Meow out in the long run.
They do.
A little bit more gold, but SofM tops the map. Flandre,
that's not the wall. It's all a plan.
But instead, they still are able to lock down Meow with the ultimate. The Hextech ultimatum. Meow can be frozen up by SofM. He flashes for it. He does not get the riposte off. Will be locked down by the ultimate and chain CC'd by Flandre. SofM helps out with another gank, this time top side of the map.
I really respect the patience from Meow there to not use the riposte at any moment. They were baiting the crowd control, and then they kept baiting the crowd control, and then suddenly Snake realized that they've made a mistake and needed to flash twice to actually lock him down. And so at the end, for summoner spells, it's well done from Meow to trade that, but he does lose his life as well, and unfortunately for him, there is no actual escape. Flandre, whilst he didn't have the hook shot at the start, still had the ultimate in range. Meow, I mean, he didn't do the wrong thing by going for a trade knowing the hook shot wasn't available, but unfortunately for him, there was a Sejuani just around the corner, and he didn't respect that fact. And of course, we get to watch this again. The miss is the most exciting part. We don't get to see that part, though.
But you'll be able to see the baiting out of the CC from Meow.
Still knows, and saves it to the last minute. Unfortunately, it was the flashes that made him feel the need to use the riposte. They thought it was going to be a point-blank stun.
Meanwhile, Crash tries to use his time to go for a bit of counter jungling.
Oh no.
Blast Cone is there.
He can count his Blast Cone blessings because there's not going to be another one of those for a little while. Crash is trying his hardest to stay in this game. The CS isn't poor for him by any means. But SofM just has so much more impact running around. The gold lead is already stretching.
And he's done his job, SofM. He's gotten a kill for Flandre on the top side of the map. He's shut down Crash, and in doing so, has given 2 kills over towards Guoguo, which has helped take over this mid lane. So top side of the map is completely won for Snake at the moment. Bottom side is a complete farm fest between the Ezreal as well as the Kog'Maw. And although Kog'Maw does scale up quite nicely, Ezreal should be pretty happy with that. He'll be farming up with the Kleptomancy. Easyhoon this time, the one that's been caught out here by SofM.
Yeah, SofM's untouchable as well. He's super tanky with his completed jungle item. Easyhoon only having the Stinger and some magic resistance is just trying to hold his Raptors. But if you know SofM, you can't just hold Raptors against him. They're his Raptors. You've got to be kidding.
Every Raptor is SofM's.
He's not a Raptor, though.
But still now, you can see Vici are the ones that are playing a little bit safer. And not only in the mid lane, but also in the jungle and top side of the map. As we mentioned, bottom lane is a farm lane. It will be fairly passive between the two. Crystal's going back to base. He already has his Iceborne Gauntlet before 10 minutes in this match.
That's a pretty clear sign of what Snake are going to try and achieve here. He doesn't go towards a Trinity Force build, of course. It's much more standard to go Iceborne Gauntlet.
Good riposte coming out from Meow. Tries to turn around against Flandre. These two are just going to go at it, but SofM is on the top side of the map. Throws out the ultimate. That's going to be met by the stopwatch. Meow will come back out, but still slowed and locked down. Flandre gets the second kill in the top lane.
I feel like Meow is doing everything in his power to try and survive this lane, but he doesn't have a jungler. Crash was in base, because Crash is forced to go back to base constantly. Even Guoguo was nearby, if need be, to secure the kill. Snake on the top side, top lane, jungle, and mid are just winning everything. Their bottom lane still has that Iceborne Gauntlet we mentioned. Well, the purpose of that is to not die and to control and clear the waves better against the Kog'Maw. Pressure them under the turret. Make sure that everything goes to plan.
And everything is going to plan for Snake at the moment. 3,000 gold on the lead. And what are the real goals here for Snake? Because we already mentioned Vici look like the weakest team so far in this conference. Snake, after their recent performance, propelling themselves to be arguably one of the top teams. So this is a lopsided match, I should say, between Snake as well as Vici. They'll definitely be looking to try and take a 2-0 at least here.
Yeah, definitely a one-sided affair, and I agree. I think Snake's goals should be a clean 2-0, but the key word there is clean. Something that Snake are decent at doing, especially just this split, but they often show tendencies of over-aggression, not just the bottom lane, but as an entire team. And there will be moments where it feels like not even they know why they're doing what they're doing. They just saw a bad guy and decided to all in. Always a possibility. So what you want to see from Snake is cleanliness.
We've seen lots of that so far in this match. Everything has looked like it's been prepared, and calmly so by SofM, the key playmaker of the team so far. The first elemental dragon that spawns in this match as well is going to be a cloud dragon, so neither team really going to be fighting over that objective just yet.
They may actually go towards the Herald as a bigger priority than that of the bottom lane Drake, but what I would do first is what they are currently looking at. You can see where Meow is situated on the map. He wants nothing to do with top lane because Guoguo and SofM are missing, and so when the turret falls, opens up the avenue towards Herald to be a little bit easier with Flandre being unlocked. I think that's when they would actually situate themselves around the Herald.
Flandre as well, just denying as many minions as possible, since he knows that Meow does not want to step up to the plate. First turret is going to fall for Snake Esports. And as you mentioned, that does open up the map, so we'll have to see if any rotations come out from the AD carry and supports now.
And you know, at this point in the game, there is a world where you'd want to gank for your bottom lane, want to gank for your mid laner as well. But against a Ryze who has his stopwatch still available and the ultimate there, very difficult to kill him. When you've got a Lee Sin that is behind, if SofM's ever nearby or missing in vision, you can't make that play. Because what if he is there and suddenly it's a 2v2? The Ryze is too fed, so you will lose. So you kind of have to just go bottom. And it feels like, whilst this is the only place you can go, as if Snake don't know that, as if they're not going to be prepared for that, and try and counter you from doing it.
They've already got a ward place to spot out Crash, who heads back to base. Now though, Snake will be looking to try and take the Rift Herald for themselves, and Guoguo doing a bit of counter jungling off his own, taking blue buff away from Easyhoon.
Thought that was going to reset for a second.
But slowly, Snake increasing their lead. 4,500 gold up. They've got Rift Herald in their back pockets. Even a slight lead for Ezreal in the bottom lane, thanks to Kleptomancy.
Yeah, certainly going to help out just that little bit extra. So we're starting to get our support quest items upgraded as well. So now Hudie becomes a little bit tankier as Crystal.
They go for a bit of a fight. Hudie.
You see what I mean?
Hello?
Like, no one knows why Crystal chose to go forwards there, but
Not
Crystal
even Hudie
chose to go forwards.
Crystal's like, I'm going in. Forces the heal out of himself, and then Hudie's like, no, come back here. Settle down.
Guys, I see it. See what?
Crash goes for a bit of a fight though, locks him down. SofM chains the CC. Ryze gets to live into the back line. So does Crystal and Hudie. And you know what? That is just anticlimactic.
Could have just let it happen.
I am sad. Just let him die first, then pause the game.
I feel like they could have paused after. Now this is, you know, one of those moments where you feel like there is a bug, right? And you're the jungler. Let's just say the bug isn't actually with Crash. And I'm going to assume it's not. He's now stuck in a situation where he's just watching himself die. And you're thinking quietly to yourself because you can't talk. What do I do? How do I get it? Is there a way that I can get out of this? And for 5 odd minutes, he's going to ponder that reality when he's just pretty much dead, stuck in golden form.
And during this time, it's probably going to be something like Meow in the top lane. Oh, my Q stopped working. Okay, no, it's fine. It's fixed. Hopefully we'll get some updates on what's going on. But there is a pause between Snake as well as Vici. Seems like there's a problem with Easyhoon here. He's the one that's talking to the referees.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen too much from Easyhoon this split. I mean, he's been staple in the mid lane, but he hasn't been a shining light so far for the team.
No, and he's always meant to be that shining light. So ultimately, for the side of Vici, he needs to show up, and I've no doubt he will show up eventually. It may be a too little too late type of thing for Easyhoon though. And at the same time, he needs to do something that is, like, if he wants to win right now in the current meta, he needs to actually do something that is almost counterintuitive of his playstyle. You know, they do like scaling, and if he was in any other region in the world, I think Easyhoon would slot into the meta brilliantly. But he's in the LPL. We're a little bit faster than that.
And when Vici used to be successful,
you know what
in
it
the
was?
games,
He's freezing.
I don't blame him.
They just put the jacket on him. I think he's too cold. Now I feel bad.
I mean, it is freezing.
He could do some push-ups.
It's 4 degrees here in Shanghai. And that's the warmest it's going to get today, Rusty.
Yeah, that's our maximum.
That's our maximum. Can't even begin to comprehend how cold it's going to be over there. Dom was over there last weekend. He said it was freezing.
And
Apparently
spicy.
it's worse. And they are known for their spicy food. That is correct.
But, yeah. Dom's got a video probably coming out eating spicy food, so be prepared for that one. No doubt it'll be amusing to watch someone eat unreasonably hot things.
But going back to Easyhoon, because there's a really cool story around him. He was the understudy of FLICKR, went to Worlds with SKT, subbed in during the World Championship where they won, so he has a skin made for himself on Azir.
Yeah.
And he was playing really well there, moved over to Vici since. And he's kind of slotted in with the team. Seems like this is the team he's going to be sticking with. They went to the LSPL, he stayed with them, played with them through the LSPL, and made it back into the LPL for this split.
Didn't want to live in the shadow forever of Easyhoon.
We're somewhere.
We are in the game.
Did Crash die? Okay, he did. He went from 2 deaths to 3 real quick, Rusty.
He's currently got a grey screen. The pause seems to have changed colour on him as we resumed. No, the jungler is dead. He's 0-3. Snake seemed to have actually dispersed and recalled after getting that pick also. They didn't go for the Drake. And they still have the Herald buff there for SofM.
Guoguo picked up that kill. But yeah, Easyhoon, we've mentioned, as you were trying to say during the pause, his playstyle has worked really well for Vici when he's aggressive. Again, we've harped on the fact that Vici need to win the top side of map to complement their bottom lane's playstyle. Quite frankly, in this match, they didn't even really need to win because the bottom lane's doing perfectly fine on their own. But the top side's completely fallen apart thanks to the plays made by SofM.
Yeah, there's no CS difference advantage for Martin in the bottom lane. There's no real winning point for the side of Vici. What they do have, of course, is that scaling. The one thing that we mentioned since Champion Select, an Azir and a Kog'Maw hitting late game, super dangerous. But looking mid.
Trying to lock down Easyhoon, and he throws Flandre back underneath the turret. SofM's here, teleport gets cancelled by Meow. Just threatening in the mid lane, but Easyhoon plays that one nicely to get out.
Yeah, a bunch of flashes used, and unfortunately Flandre doesn't hit the stun. Wants to couple it with the ultimate to lock down Easyhoon. The ultimate will shove him out of the arena, so easily able to walk away as the Azir. So well done as Crystal, very low.
Getting some good damage on towards Crystal. Doing just fine in the bottom lane as Kog'Maw.
Yeah, Crystal still got 2 items himself respectively, however, so an extra item compared to that of the Kog'Maw.
Now in the mid lane against Guoguo, just saying, please make it stop.
Just trying to clear the waves, man. Leave me alone.
Mid lane out of the turret is fairly low here. One good push from Guoguo should be enough to take it down. In the bottom lane though, Martin more than happy to stand and deliver against Hudie now.
So Martin's got his completed first item of the Guinzoo's Rage Blade, and he is up against health stacking Tahm Kenches and an armor rushing Ezreal. There is a very real world possibility where exactly this happens. Crash is able to come down, but more importantly, the 2v2 starts to win for the side of Vici. Now, the reason they back away there isn't just because Guoguo and SofM are nearby and missing, but Flandre has teleport. So even after his gank in the mid lane, the only summoner he used was Flash. And he's able to teleport to the bottom lane if they try and change that. And this is something that Snake need to be super cognizant of. They currently have an advantage because they have map presence. That teleport play they make needs to be successful, or they give an opportunity and an opening to Martin and Caveman to be a Kog'Maw and a Lulu.
Well, still very smart players coming out from Vici to identify that Snake had the pressure on them in the bottom lane. However, Guoguo, with the ramping up that he's had so far, is allowed to push down the mid lane out to turret. Rift Tower gets thrown down in the bottom lane.
He's just recalling as well, so a bit of damage may well kill the turret, but Crash is nearby, so...
Knocks Martin out of the way at the same time.
Oh, he got it.
Rift Tower was pretty angry about that, so all of the outer turrets have fallen now. You see, Easyhoon wants nothing to do with this 3-0 Ryze.
Never really know what you're going to get from the old Rift Herald sometimes. She just doesn't really want to behave. But in this case, she slaps the turret perfectly well. And they do lock that one down. 3 outer turrets as well now gone for Snake. For Vici, I should say. Snake picked them up as top lane.
Flandre locks down Meow. Simple solo kill in the top lane.
No counterplay, no chance in the world for Meow. They'll just lock him down. Flandre's completely accelerated. 2-0-1 on the Camille with the Trinity Force done. Top lane is pretty much over. Mid lane is pretty much over. And bottom lane is the last beacon they can actually look towards. And even then, I'm not sure they have what it takes to stop the rest of Snake just winning the game at 1 item on a Kog'Maw.
The last bastion of hope. You'd have to imagine if it was a Meow kind of top lane with a Sejuani in the jungle. Hello? Guys, they're fighting. Hand down.
Back to the turret. Lee Sin kicked Flandre back. They knew what the spectators were looking at. We're good.
But you have to think if it was a Meow kind of jungle, you know, Sejuani in the top lane. Sorry, those who are swapped around. Maybe it'd be different, but he was that fight. Meow thought he could take him on.
He tried. He had a good crack at it, but ultimately, oh, that was the problem. He completely whiffed it. Thought he was going to get hit, but Flandre went to the side of him. So great mind games. Brilliant from the Camille.
Outplayed.
It's just the cooldown-based thing as well. The riposte cooldown is like 23 odd seconds, and hookshot significantly less than that, especially if he maxes it. It really depends on the Camille player as to which spell they will max themselves, but bait the riposte, and then just go again straight afterwards, and that's what Flandre does.
It's a 7,500 gold lead acquired for Snake Esports at the moment. Off to a good start against Vici. Even picking up a Cloud Dragon for their troubles. 20 seconds until Baron comes up as well.
Yeah, 19 minutes and 40 seconds into the game. Doesn't feel like a whole lot of time into the game. There is a sizable lead for Snake, and they're starting to accelerate this game to uncontrollable pacing. It's not just that their solo laners are winning. It's not just that Flandre will get the kill now. With the next Drake as an Inferno, with the Baron up in 1 second, the map is theirs if they secure this Baron. The game is over if they secure it.
Certainly would be. Snake looking like they're on their way to a first map victory. Don't really want to call it over till it is, but still, very difficult for Vici to try and fight back from this one. They still have some hope in the bottom lane from Martin and Caveman. We'll have to see how that pans out. But it really begs the question to be, how do Vici start picking up wins in the LPL? Because we know Crash can be aggressive. When he was playing for 1907 Fenerbahce at Worlds, often his teammates were coming into interviews saying that we normally play with passive junglers, but Crash is hyper-aggressive. We haven't seen that from him so far. Easyhoon's back to his old playstyle. Meow looks fine, but Martin and Caveman normally don't do well in the bottom lane. Yeah. So how exactly do they pick up wins?
I mean, I know Meow 0-3, but you're right, he does look fine so far. This game is a really weird experience to be talking about how do Vici actually win games. I feel like this was just a giant whoopsie-daisies at level 3 that just lost them the entire game. SofM won the jungle because Crash didn't flash. And that was it. That was pretty much the game over. But for Vici as to like how do they win games at all? I think we need to see something extra from them. If Crash is going to play something like Lee Sin, they need to have a winning lane. They can't just draft how they have without Azir hard winning as Vici.
Snake forcing a team fight there. Ghost being used by Guoguo, hunting down Caveman. He uses heal just to get out of that sticky situation.
That should be Baron.
Getting a pick onto Crash, but you're right, that should be Baron. No smite available for Vici.
0-4 junglers, the smite. He is going to be dead. Easyhoon will try his hardest to maybe pressure the turret. Meow's going to do the exact same thing on the bottom side of the map. There's a chance that gold-wise, they actually get something close to equalizing what the Baron is worth. But ultimately, they are going to lose so much map pressure and control from that going down. I think that might actually save them from being perfect gamed a little bit there as well, Vici.
That is the first turret that Vici have been able to pick up in this match. Baron picked up by Snake, puts them close to 10,000 gold in the lead. Martin's trying to hunt down Flandre, but he's a little bit too quick, gets out of there.
If Martin ever finds himself in a 1v1, or I should say a 2v2 even, if Lulu's nearby, they could kill somebody. So skirmishes is still what Vici would be looking towards. Picks from those skirmishes, perhaps. We know that Flandre will probably take the fight. They'll just need to play exceptionally well. So have a bit of faith in the bottom lane of Vici. We may still get some explosions in action.
Ooh, Crystal. Hello. Just popping over the wall. Fancies the shot at Easyhoon. This man is a little bit too aggressive for his own good sometimes.
That was good. I like it. He hit the ult, so he knew that he was able to go in and poke. He's got the red buff too, so any health trades are still favorable for Crystal. That health regeneration from the red buff.
He does have Hudie in his back pocket, who we've already seen in this game alone is able to save him when Crystal goes too far forward. But Snake is setting up their split pushing. Guoguo's in the bottom lane with SofM just behind him. Hudie and Crystal still poking down the mid lane inner turrets. Hudie making sure he keeps Crystal alive. Bottom lane inner turret's going to fall first. Crystal steps up and gets some more damage on the mid lane inner. Top lane inner turret was already taken down by Flandre and SofM a couple of minutes ago.
Lots of respect being paid by Snake, not letting Vici get anything as they continue to push forwards and continue to mount up a very solid offense with bottom turrets going down, with the top lane still stuck at a 1v1 and a 2-level advantage to Flandre. He can just be hyper aggressive.
Meow fancies his chances top side. Matt gets good damage on the Flandre. Hextech ultimatum being used as well. He does get the stun, and it's just a one-on-one. But everyone from Snake jumps into the top lane to back him up. Meanwhile, the rest of Vici try to put up a fight against the top lane inhibitor turret. Not going to deal too much except for clear out the rest of the waves. And now Snake make their full frontal assault into the base of Vici.
You know, I wholly respect how quickly Snake were able to rotate. They should be able to get this turret down. Ryze brought a Sejuani, Tahm Kench brought an Ezreal, but Flandre already won the 1v1, so he wasn't too sure why the party arrived. They were just crashing it.
Flandre saying, it's okay guys, I've got this, it's fine. You do you. And Snake are going to continue pushing. Flandre on the bottom side of the map, able to chip away at these turrets so quickly, that was going to fall. Crash just looked at him and said, nope, I'm not going anywhere near that guy.
Head pops in the screen, he's like, nah, probably not, eh?
At the same time, top lane inhibitor turret's been taken down. Flandre just waltzes into the base and takes an inhibitor for himself.
This is one of those games where Martin feels like he's in Elo hell a little bit.
Oh no, Guoguo! Oh, Crystal gets the snipe! Almost looked like Martin was going to get the outplay against Guoguo.
That was a lot of damage from Crystal, so Ezreal will lock it down. And meanwhile,
Flandre's dead.
Yeah, Flandre had a go at dying himself.
Now
Snake,
he's angry. Now he's like, where are my friends when I actually needed them?
Oh, the ultimates are all on. Well, no, Ryze has his ultimate. I take that back. He could have probably contributed if there wasn't a Martin running at them. The two-pronged attack from Vici somewhere's got to be successful if we engage at the same time.
And it's a 13,000 gold lead for Snake. Only the mid lane inhibitor turret.
Money bush.
Only the mid lane inhibitor turret is left. You get him, Easyhoon.
Some serious bank from a single jungle camp.
32 gold, was it?
Yeah, serious bank.
Vici will take what they can get, but this game is pretty much over at the moment.
Infernal Drake for Snake is a good measure as well. You want to pick that one up, get some extra AD. Someone may go Penta hunting in the next team fight, something to keep your eye on as well. We have to watch how Flandre does this, because that started off well from him. But then they've simultaneously flashed. Flandre, let's just say he tunnel visioned a little bit too hard there, chasing further than he had any right doing.
And as you mentioned, Snake will pick up the Infernal Dragon for themselves. Only mid lane inhibitor turret left standing.
We've actually hit a big item break point for Camille as well. He's got the Sterix with the Sheen, amplifying the Sheen proc damage with the Trinity Force upgraded. So nice stuff to see from the Camille. It also means that in a 1v1, whilst he was able to dismantle Meow, there is a high chance that he could 1v2, and if he's really feeling himself, Martin and Caveman will be the next target.
Martin actually fancies a shot at Crystal once again. He's forced to flash away. Gets the ultimate out of Caveman as well to keep him safe. Camille takes down one of Azir's propped up turrets as Crystal continues to poke away at the mid lane inhibitor turret. Those Sheen procs will slowly chip away at it. Meow already at half health from Flandre. Crash is just waiting side by side just in case. Meow falls even further below half health.
Fully understanding that Martin is the place of power for Vici, and fully understanding that to win this game, they go where he is not.
And Flandre goes for the 2-on-1. Easyhoon so low. SofM locks him down. Somehow still alive, but Guoguo has been able to take down the AD carry of Martin. Crystal gets a kill onto Caveman, jumps forward. Guoguo gets the double. Meanwhile, Hudie thinks he can take on Meow. Saves Flandre. A triple gets picked up for the Ryze, but it will be Hudie that gets onto the scoreboard. He picks up the ace, and Snake march towards the Nexus.
No one going through the Ryze ultimate. Game number 1, super clean to Snake Esports.
Very, very clean from Snake. They go up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. They're looking to try and repeat that process against Vici Gaming.
And as game ones go, again, they're in their home crowd stadium here. Snake look completely unstoppable, but more so, whilst we can talk about the positives of Snake, there are so many questions that need to be answered about Vici, like, what was that? I think that's the biggest question. I know I'm
You're meant to answer these questions, Rusty. I'm meant to ask them.
Well, maybe it's rhetorical, Fish.
Oh, we'll leave it to Clement later. He's on the desk. He can tell us what that was. But Vici, the one thing we criticize them for is their bottom lane. And their bottom lane looked far from bad in that game. They looked perfectly fine. The top side of the map, which we normally compliment Vici for, fell apart. And you said it was just from level 3.
There are very clear and defined reasons as to why the top side of the map fell apart. It wasn't so much Meow himself, it was more so Crash's interventions. The fact that SofM was able to constantly find him and just pick him apart.
You mean Crash's interventions for Snake Esports?
Sorry, yes, his interventions.
Oh no. But SofM was able to predict his pathing quite well. Got the collapse onto him a couple of times, and you know, got those early 3 kills for Guoguo. Guoguo had double buff, and Easyhoon just said, I can't do anything in this lane anymore.
Nope, and exactly, the jungler makes an impact on the mid lane, mid's also able to pressure the top lane, and suddenly that whole area of the map is gone, and the bottom lane was left wondering what on earth has gone wrong, and what can we even do to impact it?
Well, Martin tried his best, but his best just was not enough in that game, and Snake go up 1-0. We're going to send it back to Pulse and Clement to break it down.
Cheers, Fish. And honestly, Clement, what can we say? Because they got absolutely wrecked. And I mean, Vici. Like, 1 kill and 1 tower away from a perfect game.
Well, we need to see Crash show up a little more. He was definitely on a crash course to Chongqing and what they do over there to people that come to their home arena. It was pretty nasty so far.
I don't know what goes on in that arena. Like, everyone who turns up to Snake's arena just gets completely destroyed. Like, they've gone through EDG, they've gone through WE, now they're going through Vici. Like, this is absurd.
Yeah, I think their venue is actually really cold. You could see the timeout was just to put,
that's
like,
the reason.
coats on, and we can look at the pick ban here. There's some interesting things going on. Snake giving Vici all the picks they want. They handed over Easyhoon his famous Azir. They gave him the scaling bot lane composition. So this was shaping up to be a good game between like a very strong teamfight comp and a really good pick composition. If you look at those picks right there, I don't think you can find a better pick composition in the meta that exists. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see any of that. The game was far from, was pretty much over way before that. And if you just look at the chains of events, I feel like they turned out very unfortunate. Like what Crash needed to do was just make sure the Fiora could continue to grow up in her lane, continue to develop his mid and bot lane. We're going to push naturally. He didn't really need to go to that lanes. There weren't much gank pressure in the bot lane either, but he fed 2 kills mid. Guoguo got both of those kills, was able to actually outpush in that matchup and influence map before he could, and everything just kind of fell apart from there.
Yeah, and frankly, Snake just took it really well. I mean, like, SofM, he set up those kills. Guoguo, as you said, managed to get them. And then topside starts snowballing. Flandre becomes a monster, and bot lane's just not on an island. Just like, we'll just keep our heads down. Hopefully, topside won't get us. And by, like, what, 10 minutes, it was 4 kills. It was like, well, this is pretty much over.
So people were asking, like, oh, so let's jump into the man of the match right here. Guoguo picking up the first 2 kills of the game. Didn't really need to do much damage, but he was able to realm warp everywhere around the map. And you could see in the final shots that he even got the Kog'Maw outside of camera.
Now, do you agree with this, Clement? That it didn't go to your boy Flandre, it went to the mid lane?
Well, to be honest, I think he should have gone to SofM. I think he set up every single one of those plays. In the top lane, Flandre did outplay Meow a couple of times, but that was after he got multiple kills because SofM came into his lane with the Glacial Prison.
Fair.
So SofM, I think he really manhandled the game. Like, Crash was nowhere to be seen, killed twice, you know, double buff over to Guoguo. And I feel like this is a strong point about Snake that we're seeing this season is when asked, like, how are you guys doing so well? Flandre's answer was, well, we started to treat our games like in scrims, and we do really well in scrims. And this is kind of the result. This is one of those scrim games where at 10 minutes the other team starts to type, you know,
I mean, they literally paused
next?
the game when it was like, can we go next? No, you actually have to play this out, unfortunately. And that's what it looked like. I completely agree. And we know that Snake have been good in scrims for the longest time, you know, and like they've still been turning up, but as soon as they got on stage, something went wrong. So maybe it's the fact that they actually have their own stage now, which is just the secret recipe.
The only thing I would say for Vici Vici Gaming is I feel like they can keep their core of Kog'Maw and Azir, but maybe not go into the Fiora pick, because when you have to babysit the Fiora and you have pushing mid and bot, maybe that's a bit too much pressure on Crash. He can't really handle all of these things together. You could just go as easily go for like a tank top laner and just try to, you know, scale the other two lanes, and maybe that would be easier to defend in terms of like the territory on the map. Not spread them out so much.
But I mean, the problem was, like, if you're going to throw down the gauntlet and say Fiora, then that's totally okay. You can do that.
Yeah.
But then topside, at the very least, jungle just has to not die, right? Like, your one job is to not die, so top lane at least can go even and have even jungle pressure. But then that snowballs, then is spill over into mid lane and spill over into bottom lane, and that's where problems start arising. And I'm just very surprised it's happening from the jungle role on Vici, because we were saying Crash very aggressive, he should be the one making plays happen. Maybe is he going to be Pepper 2.0, but it's the complete opposite we're seeing from the jungle.
He was hyped up so much. Like, Easyhoon was saying a lot of good things about this guy, and he was supposed to like carry them through the early game, but what we've seen so far from Vici has been the exact opposite. Anywhere he's on the map, the duels he's getting, they typically end up in deaths on his part. So maybe they have to tune his style a little bit, make him play in line more with the rest of the team. I do like Vici's draft in terms of what they think they were going to do. They really put a priority on the bot lane. They put Crystal on Ezreal, which I think is one of his, to be fair, his weakest champions. You know, if you ask him about Essence Flux, he'll tell you if you go backwards, you don't do any damage. That's his like thought on Essence Flux, like on Arcane Shift. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I think there's good priority over there, but maybe they could tunnel more on that and focus more on the bot lane, like we said in the start of the series. Like, the bot lane is kind of Snake's only weakness currently.
Yeah, it is their only weakness, but it didn't even look like that was necessarily a problem. We saw a couple of times like he would just
Arcane shift for
forwards,
heal.
yeah, and then heal, and literally like his support's holding him back and lane. He's like, please don't go in. We can probably perfect game them here. Either way, we are going to take a short break before we take a look at game number 2 between Vici and Snake.